Okay, I'm driving, I'm wearing glasses, and you can't see it, but I'm wearing pajama bottoms too, so that means only one thing. It's late on Sunday night, and my wife wants me to go get her ice cream or cinnamon rolls or something. So we're having a good conversation. I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and pull out the camera and just talk while we're here. So 2 years ago, when I started the agency in Milwaukee, believe it or not, there was a lot I didn't know. And by a lot, I mean 90% of the things I had to figure out about running a business, I learned by making a ton of mistakes. The first thing was I knew I was a really good marketer, and that was enough to go ahead and start an agency and, you know, build upon our firm and everything. But little things like all the insurance you need to remain compliant, all the fees, you know, how much does your accountant cost and everything. And I'll never forget the first time I ran payroll. Luckily, a few of my contractors were friends of mine because I didn't realize how much money was taken out in taxes and that I would have to pay payroll taxes on top of what I was paying myself. So I actually could not run payroll my first month because I would not have enough money to even run it. So that was not a fun month, but had to figure out everything. And the part that really sucked was I had a couple of clients that were enough to basically help pay our rent and a couple grocery runs. I wasn't making what I was making quite yet at my previous job, so I needed clients immediately. So something I did, I'm not saying this is the solution for everybody, but something I did was I went ahead and I realized that there was a market for car salesmen to use social media to bring people to their lots, to go ahead and develop that know, like, and trust. So that way, when they, you know, get somebody on Instagram that watches their videos and they like them and they know what's available, they're more likely to show up to the lot, find that specific salesman, and then, you know, hopefully close the deal faster because it's not just a cold encounter with a stranger. Same goes for realtors. The Milwaukee market out in Wauwatosa, for example, one of the towns in the suburbs of Milwaukee, they were having a housing boom for a little bit because you had a lot of really old homes that were going $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 over what they typically would have been, and they were getting into these cash bidding wars with folks from California that were moving in. Kind of the same situation we're dealing with in Las Vegas, except their houses were more built like when home improvement was around, whereas here, at least, you know, you've got some options here in Vegas. But I realized that a lot of folks, whether they were realtors or whether they were car salesmen, they didn't know really how to use social media, but they knew that that was something they needed to figure out. So I went ahead and offered this course, and I was going to do a course for how car salesmen could use social media to get more leads, and then I was going to do another course for how realtors could use social media to get more leads. Here's the funny part about it. I didn't make the course. I actually hadn't created it yet. What I did do was I had probably $30, and that was all I had to do any marketing with. I'm not even joking. That was enough to go ahead and put some gas in my car and take me to FedEx to go ahead and print out maybe 100 flyers for each. So what I did, and this is before like Perplexity and everything, I had to go on Google Maps, but I went ahead and found every car dealership in the Milwaukee area, and then I found every real estate agency in the Milwaukee area, and I had a week where I was just going and talking to you know, senior salesmen and general managers, and then the next week was going and talking to you know, brokers and realtors. So I probably put out you know, 50 or 60 of those flyers for the car salesman course, and then probably like 100 for the realtors course. It got so bad, I mean, people weren't even letting me in the doors at that point. I got kicked out of one car dealership. The others at least pretended to care, but for the most part, I got nothing out of it. For the realtors, it was even a little bit shiftier. What I tried to do was I took some of the cash I had out of pocket, and I was buying Krispy Kreme donut boxes by the dozen, you know, dozen donuts, so like $24 or whatever, and I was sticking my card and the flyer in the box. And what I would do is I would go into these agencies And I would go ahead and say, hey, I'm Remzo. I'm new to the area. I just opened a business. Just want to come and say hi. And I'd give them the box because who's going to say no to Krispy Kreme? And then I'd leave. So out of all of that effort, I got one realtor that wanted me to teach a course. The moral of the story is I couldn't just sit around and hope that I was going to bring in clients. And yeah, I had a pretty good social media following. Some of you have known me for a while through social media, but when I was starting the agency, a lot of people didn't know me as Remzo the marketer. They knew me as Remzo like the comic book podcaster because I had a comic book podcast for many years, or Remzo the political guy because I had done political journalism and campaigning for many years. So a lot of people, when I started the agency, yeah, they support me, but these aren't people who are going to do business with me. And believe it or not, referrals dry up fast. So fast forward 2 years, we're here in Vegas, and things are obviously a lot better. We're doing a lot better. And now I've got my Marketing Nightmares seminar that I give to local business owners to teach them about the traps that they usually fall into and how they sabotage their own marketing. So I have this one woman who has been to several of them by now, and she has a business that has not really done that great the past year. It's not bringing enough revenue for her to seek work, that's not related to what she's doing. By that I mean she's taking odd jobs. She's trying to do everything she can to get some cash coming in because the business isn't bringing in revenue, if that makes sense. I thought I almost hit a bird, so I kind of jumbled my words for a second. But what ended up happening was I asked her the other day because she was just telling me, it's like, oh, I'm only getting people through referrals. I'm only doing this. I'm not doing anything else. And I asked her, I'm like, okay, so it's been a while since we talked. Just off the bat, did anything from my presentation help you at all? And she straight up looked at me and said, well, I haven't done any marketing. I'm just hoping that I will get referrals. And I looked at her and I said, well, let's call her Susan. Like, Susie, that's nightmare number one. For anyone that's been to the Marketing Nightmare seminar, you know that nightmare number one is you don't do anything. And you just hope that your product or service sells itself. So I'm talking to this woman, and it's very clear that she is just making one excuse after another. She's not investing into the right things. She's just hoping that friends will send her referrals. She's begging for referrals. I asked her, are these people sending you referrals? Are they drying up at some point? She's like, yeah, after a couple weeks. And I'm like, yeah, because you're not sending them anything. And she got quiet. So I was like, why should they only send you business, but you're not reciprocating? Like, people can say they're nice. People can go ahead and say all the things in the world, but if you're not actually showing a little bit of gratitude by at least making some introductions, I don't know what to tell you. And we're at the cinnamon roll place, so we're gonna pause for a minute. So Juliana's inside the cinnamon roll place, so I thought might as well pick it up here. So anyway, she's not doing any marketing. She's not joining any of the right associations. She's not putting any money into advertising, and she's only going off of leads through referral, which is great, but you can't rely on that. So I asked her, I'm like, so, okay, you don't have money for anything that you can really do to bring people in. Do you have a business line of credit? And she was like, I don't want to do that. And I looked at her and I was like, that's one of those situations where you have to wonder whether or not you wanted to actually run a business. When I went ahead and started the agency, I had to go out and get a business line of credit because I needed to do that. And I invested my first Chamber of Commerce fees. I bought equipment, did some advertising, did some sponsored newsletters and a bunch of things just trying to get people in. And eventually it did work. It was an investment. I think people hear that and they think, oh, I'm just burning money. But it was an investment in myself. It was an investment in the business, and I needed to get that going. And eventually we were able to get other clients. So, I'm not talking from I'm not pulling stuff out of nowhere. I'm telling her, hey, this is what I did. This is what I had to do. She brushes that off. And then I told her the story I told you about how I had to go and talk to all of these, car dealership people and all these realtors. And she just kept ignoring that. I guess the big thing is that you can't convince people to do what's good for them if they don't care to do it themselves. It's like with anything else. It's like you can go ahead and point out, hey, you're doing this thing which is harming you. I think you should do it. And they could be like, yeah, you're right. And then they just keep doing it. I mean, it's like this with friends and family. I think there's a saying that, like, nobody is, nobody's a prophet in their own home. It's the same situation sometimes. And, afterwards, I looked at my wife and I'm like, she's not going to be in business within a year. She's not going to be in business because she's not doing any of the things that you need to do to go and actually get leads. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many open houses and, chicken dinner business networking events you go to. If you're not shaking hands and getting people to come in and convert to clients, you can't do anything. She's like, well, I went to this free event. I went to this free event. I'm like, yeah, look who's going to those free events. It's just people demanding things. It's everyone else trying to sell everyone else. Now, don't get me wrong. When you're trying to build a book of business and build a network, you've got to do that stuff. I've been to hundreds of those by now. But it really is a situation where it's like, okay, if you know you don't have the money to go do stuff and you don't have the work right now, then you better go ahead and take some time to, go out and find people. And it sounds ridiculous, but I didn't have a lot of money when I was doing that stuff, but I had a lot of time. And I had to make sure that I was paying rent so my wife and I had a place to live. And we had money for groceries. And it was one of those things where it's like, you could start filming videos. You could start a vlog. I brought up her website. I'm like, your website's not SEO optimized. You don't have a Google business profile. You're not doing the basic free things. The basic free things to start building a brand and to start bringing leads to you. So as we left, I was just like, that woman's helpless, because I gave her all the answers to all the things to avoid, and I gave her all the pointers, and I've spoken to her before, and I've given her the checklist. But at the end of the day, it's like there's always going to be more and more excuses that come out of her. Okay, she's coming back. Okay, so she went ahead and just got an order from Cinnaholic. I only learned about this place 20 minutes ago, but apparently this was on Shark Tank.
Yeah, it was, I don't know much about it, but when I went in there, it's cinnamon rolls in the shape, in the way you would do, an ice cream bar. That's interesting. I hope it's good.
Is it like frozen yogurt where you go ahead and like get your flavors and then you've got all your toppings and stuff you put down?
It's more like going into a traditional ice cream shop and asking for it.
Okay, so are we in Vegas or Henderson?
We're in Henderson.
Okay, Cinnaholic in Henderson.
It's pretty good.
There you go. Looking forward to it. What'd you get me? This is weird. I didn't know what the menu was, but I've got like a craving for like berries and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, if you go in there and you find anything with like berries, can you get it for me?
I got you the very berry cinnamon roll. I got myself something else. I forgot what it was called. And then 2 chocolate chip cookies. They looked good.
Cool. So here's where we kind of left off a moment ago. So as I mentioned, she doesn't have money for advertising. So I just wanted to kind of gauge her to kind of see where she was at. So I was like, could you do any type of direct mail? I know a direct mail guy who can help you out. She's in an area that, has a lot of folks that, meet her target audience. I don't want to give out too many details. They're more likely to pick up mail. So I was like, you know what? Direct mail might be good for you. She's like, I don't have money for that. So I was like, okay, what do you have money for? And she's like, I don't want to spend anything on marketing. So I'm like, okay, right there. We just figured out that you don't have any money to spend on your marketing or advertising. So I'm like, okay, so you have time because you obviously, you've got several other jobs, but you're not working every hour of the day. We've got to figure out how to use that time to, go out and meet more people. So, as I mentioned in that example of what I did with the flyers were cheap. The flyers were like $30. And let's not even mention, how much I spent on the donuts. Just forget about that. Just think about the flyers, because I would have gone with the flyers anyway. I had probably about 3-4 hours a day for the first week where I was like, I'm going to go ahead and target every car dealership in Milwaukee. And I think I even hit parts of Waukesha County if any Wisconsinites are watching this. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and target all the realtors that have actual, brick and mortar offices in Milwaukee and Waukesha County. So while I didn't have the money to do much, what I had was I had myself, because I was the agency owner and I was the person who's going to lead this course, and I was, you know, going to go promote these. And here's the crazy part about it. These courses, I was going to do them for free, because here was my idea. If these dealerships, let's assume that there's like 20 salesmen at, like, I don't know, your local car dealership. What I was telling the general manager was that I will come in, and during their lunch break or on a day where they're having their weekly staff meeting, so that way it didn't get in the way of them, got merge here, because, oh yeah, I see our state flower. You know where our state flower is?
A traffic cone.
A traffic cone. I told them I don't want to get in between them and possibly selling to customers, so let's do this maybe on a day where you have like a general meeting. Usually those are like really early on Saturdays once a month. So I was like, this is going to be a great value to you, and I'm doing it for free. So right there, what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, I have something which can give you value, and you don't have to worry about cost because I will do it for free. What was I hoping to get out of that? One, I was hoping to get some credibility, because then I could say I finally went ahead and did a presentation on something that I created, this presentation I created. I can get some photos that I could use as marketing collateral, post it on social media. Hey, here I am at, Russ Darrow Kia. I'm a marketer on the run at Russ Darrow Kia, teaching all these salesmen how to use Instagram and TikTok to go ahead and bring in more leads. So then I would get the photos from that. I would get the social proof from that. I might even get a testimony from the manager. Hey, Remzo came in, he did a great job. So yeah, I'm putting time into this. I'm not getting money out of it necessarily, but I'm getting a lot of assets, and I'm building my name, and I'm possibly going to get some referrals out of it. The other thing too is that maybe, if I'm in a room with 20 people, I might not get the dealership to hire me as their social media guy, but what I could possibly do is I could possibly get one of those 20 car salesmen to hire me to teach them how to, work on camera, to teach them how to film right, to teach them about the editing tools, to do some consults. Maybe they want to hire me for a couple hours to film them and stuff, so they don't have to be the ones holding the camera, because I used to do videography, and as anyone that knows me knows, I hate videography. So we did everything we possibly could to get the word out, and the idea is that all I need is one place. I just need one place to go ahead and bring me in, so that way I can get some real proof from real people locally. So that's just one example. Maybe there's a way you can do that in your field. Maybe if you're starting to do car repairs, or you're detailing cars. There's a lot of people out here in Vegas that do car detailing. Maybe do car detailing for free for a couple of your friends. Get those testimonies, get the before and after photos. There's ways that you can get collateral out of doing that. So you're not just working for free, you're getting something out of it, and you're building their network. And then they're more likely to go ahead and work with you. So all that said is, there's always a way, and at the end of the day, nothing moves if you don't. And your marketing is one of those things. All right, we're about to pull in. I'm going to eat this cinnamon roll. All right, talk later.